everyone, my name is Kaikun6 and I'm here to do this week's episode of Playlist Stories. And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about a certain memory that was attached to the song, which is in the title, Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. A little bit of background of like this song for sure, like, you know, how I listened to it, and then do I still listen to it as of today? Yes, I do. As a kid, I listened to it all the time, thanks to my brother and his sort of eclectic taste in music. But for sure, he and I are like in sync when it comes to like, you know, he and I liking Britney Spears. Like, he likes certain songs of her, and so do I, you know. And of course, I mean, my sister does also like, you know, Britney Spears, but I felt like she was not like a big fanatic like me and my brother are, you know. And so over the years, like me listening to, you know, certain songs of like certain albums of hers, like it just made my love for her grow, you know. And like I consider her the queen, you know, like nobody messes with the queen, nobody touches her and stuff like that. And, you know, and then over the years, like I felt like my love for Britney was just like, it gotten even better when it came to a certain person that came into my life in high school, where, you know, that told me that he also likes Britney Spears. And this person I'm gonna be talking about was an old crush of mine in high school. Like, it was from, and one of the oldest crushes I've ever had, actually. It was from my freshman year to my senior year in high school. And I'm gonna give him the nickname M because of the fact that most of my friends still have him as a friend on Facebook or other social media platforms. And so I'm like, I don't want him coming to me or contacting me at all, you know? So, so anyway, about this person, like, all I knew is that he loved Britney Spears, and he was like a team member for, you know, for my old high school's water polo team. And that's all I'm gonna say from there. Maybe some of you guys have already figured it out, who knows, especially for my friends that I went to in high school. So if you guys know who that is, you know, just keep it to yourselves. Anyway, but yeah, like due to a recent conversation that I had with a few of my friends, and you know, and them telling me about feedback of like my previous videos of playlist stories, like a conversation struck up about him, and I was like, oh, you know what? Let me go talk about it with you guys. So how I met this person was also like, you know, like I said, it was in my freshman year in high school. I had like at least one class with him for every single year of my high school experience. And I remember freshman year was like a math class with him. I think it was like pre-algebra or algebra 1. I don't remember, but I was like heavily like wanting to do math for sure for all my 4 years in high school. And then eventually, like, my love for choir grew also. So it went from like, oh, I'm going to concentrate more on math. And then it's like, okay, now I can concentrate more on choir. And then so at one point, I found a balance by the time it was like sophomore, and so on and so forth, that type of thing. And so during my freshman year, I went to this math class. I remembered seeing this tall, you know, boy, I would say, and he, you know, he had a cute face on there, is like what made me kind of like him in a way. But once I heard his voice, like I felt like, oh boy, he's gonna be really fucking annoying. Okay, I am going to, you know, stop right there. But he was very friendly. Like, he was friendly towards everybody. And of course, he was that type of person that he wanted to get to know people for sure. Like, he wanted to reach out to somebody and talk to them, introduce himself and all that stuff. And of course, once he saw me, that, you know, I was a very sheltered person. I didn't talk to nobody in class. And if I did, it was like just to, you know, ask questions about a certain assignment, or, you know, what did the teacher say? Like, you know, sometimes I'll space out and then I never knew what they were gonna like say. And so that supposedly caught his attention. And so he decided to sit right next to me in class, and I would be like, okay, why is he sitting right next to me? And what is up, like, what's up with him, basically? Like, does he have something against me or something? No, he actually made, like, he told me his intentions. He wanted to be my friend. He wanted to get to know me, and I was like, all right, cool. And so over the course of freshman year, he and I got to talk to each other, get to know each other, and then at one point, I ended up getting a video. I think it was like an iPod video at first. And so he noticed that I was listening to music at one point, and he was like, oh, you like Britney Spears? And I said, yes, I do. I really love Britney Spears. He's like, oh my God, like, you and I were going to be best friends because I love Britney Spears. And I was just like, okay, dude, you know, calm down, you know. I'm like, I know she's the queen, but, you know, calm down. And so he was like, no, you just don't understand. Like, she is like if I had a chance with her to be in a relationship with her, you know, like, I would do some really nasty shit to her. And I was just like, I do not want to listen to this anymore. I remember just ignoring him during class because of that. And and at one point, like, he made it known, like, he was just like, I love Britney Spears. Like, I think he ended up, like, wearing, like, one of the concert shirts that, you know, he used to go to, or, like, he went to at the time. And I was like, all right, cool. So that clearly shows that he really likes Britney Spears. And so after that, I've done my best just to, like, completely avoid him, because he was really distracting me from classes. Like, not just because, like, it slowly developed, like, into a crush on him and stuff like that, but, like, it just, like, he really hindered my thoughts at one point. Like, I couldn't concentrate in class. All I wanted to do was just, like, look at him a lot, but then, you know, I couldn't make that known. I didn't want him to know that at some point I had feelings for him. So, you know, I just did my best. And then by the time it was sophomore year, I think I ended up having him for a science class, if I believe. But I wasn't really too sure. Like, I just remember it was, like, at least one class for every single year in high school. But in this class, that was when, like, our friendship sort of flourished. Like, as soon as he saw me, like, our first day of sophomore year in that class, he was like, hey, I remember you, like, you know, let's be friends. And I was just like, what the hell? Well, like, okay, whatever. And so after that, he and I talked a lot. Like, we got to know each other. He was just wondering what other taste in music I was into, like, who am I friends with, and all that. And so I told him, like, you know, like, what kind of friends I had. And, you know, that kind of, like, I don't know if it irked him or something, I'm not sure, but I just knew that he changed after that. And so he felt like, you know, maybe he wanted to do something a little bit more materialistic into our friendship. Whereas I'm going to tell you guys that, there'll be times where I'll bring over, like, a bottle or soda, like, to class. It was, like, before or after lunchtime. And then this time, it was, like, right after lunch. I ended up going to a class, and I had, like, sometimes a bottle or Coke or Dr. Pepper with me. And it'll be in my backpack, or if not, I'll just have it sitting on my desk. And so he would eventually, like, take the bottle, take a sip of it, put it back, and then he'll just say thank you. And I'd be like, what the fuck? I was like, how did that happen? Like, how did I let that happen? I don't know. I just, it just, like, I guess it didn't dawn on me back then, but it was, like, almost a daily thing now. It was, like, every single time I'll bring a soda over, like, he'll eventually, you know, ask for permission to, you know, to take a sip of soda, or if not, he'll take half the bottle and I'll take the other half. And so eventually it became like that. Like, one day I'll bring a bottle of soda, and then one day he'll bring one, and then we'll exchange it sometimes. Like, he's like, oh, somebody grabbed the last Dr. Pepper bottle. I don't know who, but, like, I know you have one, and I know you like Coke, so let's exchange. And I'll be like, yeah, sure. So we'll exchange, and sometimes it'll be opened or it'll be, you know, closed, because sometimes I haven't even had a chance to open my bottle or soda. But for some reason, his is always closed. It was kind of like, he was not a really big fan of Coke or something like that, but he knew he enjoyed it. So whenever I actually had Dr. Pepper, he'll, like, gladly take the bottle or soda. And then in some days when I had Coke, he was like, no, I'm not going to touch this stuff. So I was just like, that was just strange. But anyway, But it was like that from my sophomore year all the way to my senior year. It was like almost every single day where he'll ask if he'll take a swig of my soda, and I'll just say, yeah, but you need to give me something in return. And of course, he always gave me a bottle of soda, or if not, sometimes, you know, I think hot Cheetos at one point. I don't remember, but it was just like we had this exchange. And of course, that caught a lot of attention to our classmates. It was like, okay, how come this person is associating this person? And then of course I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about, you know, for some reason I cared about my image back then, and so I was like this quiet girl in class, so I need to stay quiet. But for some reason it was like they were just shocked that I actually had a voice and stuff like that. And so at one point they tried to be my friends too, but then I was just like, no, like I'm not really interested in any your guys' friendships. Like I have my own, and it's just gonna stay like that. And so that kind of like, of course, grew the popular kids' like attention. And so of course, like Rhea and everybody else, they were kind of like, oh my god, so you know this person, you know, you can hang out with us, basically. And I was just like, hell no, like get the fuck away from me, basically. And so over the years, M was like, you know, wondering why was I, you know, hanging out with these certain people in high school. Because at one point, it's so funny, I remember this, it was just, I don't know why, but it just popped into my head. There was a moment where he found out where I hung out during lunch, and of course, I was with my friends in the anime club. And as you guys knew in previous videos, like a lot of people did not like these group of individuals. They were considered the outcasts. And so I didn't really know that at the time. I just thought they were like really cool people to hang out with, which I still do as of today. And I miss hanging out with them. And so hopefully I'll be able to meet them in person soon. Like I can't wait. And so so at one point he came to me and was like talking to me, and I was like in the middle of a conversation with like my friend Ace and my like the usual group of girls, you know, that I hung out with at the time. And they were like looking at this person. It was just like, oh my god, you know him, like he's one of the popular kids. And they were just like whispering amongst each other, you know. And of course one of them didn't really care. They were just like, hey, like, hello, you had your attention on me, hello. And I was like, you know what, like I'll just talk to you guys later. Like, so I just said, okay, well, hey, what's up, Em, what's going on? And he was like, so you hang around with these people, huh? And I'm like, yeah, they're my friends, like, is there a problem? And so he was like, no, not really, it's just I'm very shocked. Like, I thought I had this sense of like, you know, these type of people are your friends. And I was just like, okay, like what was he talking about? He thought that I was kind of like in between like the punks / the drama kids for some reason. I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, no, like my friends are the anime club, like what the fuck's going on? And so of course one of my friends in that club gathered up like kind of like a mob, you know, and they surrounded both M and me. It was just like, hey, you know, like this is a new phase, how are you doing? So basically they were trying to do an initiation type of thing, or if not a scare tactic to get him away from me, basically. And it worked. All I remember was he was freaking the fuck out, and he was just like, you know what, I'll just talk to you after lunch, because we did have like a class after that. And so he was just like, you know what, I'm about to go. So I was just like, all right, cool. So then after lunch, of course, he and I talked more about like my choice of friends. And he was like, okay, they're kind of scary. I was just like, really? Like, I don't think so. They're really nice. And so then over the years, of course, I found out who they were. Of course, they were the outcasts. They were like, sometimes they got into trouble with other students and staff or teachers of the school. And sometimes they ended up in fights, or if not, they ended up having an argument where it caught attention of the staff. And so so eventually people knew. Everybody in the school knew at that point like who we were and stuff. And so kind of like nobody messed with us in a way. And if they did, you know, we had to throw hands. And so by the time it was like junior and senior year already, and we had a class together, and I think it was like also like English or math. I don't remember, but I think it was mainly English. Of course, he sat right next to me, or at least near me, and the usual, which is he saw my bottle of Dr. Pepper, looks at me and just says, "Hey, can I take a swig of that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so he'll like drink like half the bottle and then gives it back to me, and then eventually just never asked for another swig again. So I was just like, okay, cool. And so I thought at one point I should get him his own bottle, because I didn't like the idea of sharing germs with him. I don't know, it felt like it was like it creeped me out, even though like I had a crush on him, but it did creep me out. And so I eventually ended up getting like a little bit more of an allowance, and so I used a little bit of my allowance money to get 2 bottles of sometimes Dr. Pepper, or if not, 1 Coke and 1 Dr. Pepper. And so eventually the exchange became more frequent, and so when he found out that I bought 2 bottles of soda, he felt like very disappointed, but then he kind of like caught on, like, oh, I know what she's doing. And so then now it became like, okay, now we can exchange like snacks or whatever else, or if not, more drinks. And so at one point, I think I remembered I bought like a bottle of lemonade or something, and that was just like something out of the ordinary for him. And he was just like, whoa, why lemonade? And I was like, oh, I like lemonade, And he's like, oh, you're weird. But I was like, okay, whatever, dude. But yeah, he still asked for a swig, and of course I let him, and then he gave me a bottle of fucking Coke as an exchange, because apparently he really likes lemonade too, which, yeah, I guess he just thought that I was just like a cokehead or something. I don't know. Anyway, after that, just like my feelings for him started developing like over time, and of course, like I looked forward to seeing him every day, and then eventually, graduation hit, and then I just knew in the back of my mind, like, okay, I'll eventually stop with the crush, and and I'll never see him ever again. And so that was the plan. And it did. Like, I never saw him in person ever again after graduation. I just remembered having one last conversation with him about, telling me that he had a really great time getting to know me, and, and my friends, of course, from the anime club. And so he had an issue with Joe at one point, and then, of course, he eventually had to go, just go meet up with family, just to go out and eat. And he did ask me at one point, like, where am I going to be going to eat? And I did told him about, a certain Chinese restaurant that I always go to whenever I get hungry or get the craving for Chinese food along with my family. And so he was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go try that place. And I was like, fuck. Oh, why did I say that? Maybe I'll run into him one of these days. And of course, I never did. I just remembered telling my family that if a random boy just came up to me one day and just said, hey, that I remember you from high school, don't worry about it, like he was just a friend and nothing else. And so I remember telling this specifically to my mom and my brother, because they were like very overprotective of me. And so my brother was like, do not have him catch these hands. At one point I was just like, okay, whatever, bro. And so after that, like, things were normal for me, like I ended up going to college, and at one point one of my friends have mentioned him, and then later on found out that he came out of the closet sometime in junior year or senior year, and he made it like kind of like official by the time he graduated from high school, and ended up like dating certain guys or something like that, or at least one guy that I could remember, and then ended up marrying him at some point. And I was just so proud of him for that, because I don't know if he ever had like issues with his like sexual identity, like maybe did he wanted to be gay at one point or stay bi or whatever. But all I know is that like I fully supported it, like when I found out about it, like during my junior or senior year, because it was like one of those things, like it was like an unspoken rule at the time where, if anybody talks about like, about sexual identity, like it was considered taboo, or they were kind of like scared to bring it up because of like fear of judgment from, you know, from your peers and stuff like that. But for me, I told him that I fully supported him, and from there it felt like our friendship really flourished, you know. And as I don't know if he ever knew that I had a crush on him or not, but he knew that I meant well, and I wanted to, you know, support him in his choices and stuff like that. Like, I still wanted to be his friend, at least, even though at that time I was like, you know, okay, so you're gay, all right, well then, you know, I'm still gonna be your friend, but this means that, you know, I cannot have no drama between you and your partner, you know, because I didn't want none of that, because at the time, jealousy was just like a very common thing between, you know, groups of friends or in relationships. And if, you know, they see their partner talking to another person, they just get jealous immediately. And so I tried my best not to do that, because I didn't know if he was really in a relationship at the time or not, but by the way that he like presented himself and stuff, it was like, oh, he was single at the time, but he didn't know if things with his partner was going to be official, you know. And so I remember myself, I didn't want to make that hinder my thoughts for a very long time. And so after that, I was like, okay, well then, you know, maybe I'll never hear from him again. And of course, I've heard the news that he got married like not that long ago, and then, you know, he seems happier now, you know. Like, I felt like him coming out of the closet made like his relationship with his mom better. And I don't know about his dad, because he never really talked about his dad, you know. Like, when I talked about my dad with, you know, with my friends, especially towards him, he felt like I don't know if he ever said to me like he was jealous or not, but like he felt like, you know, like, it's great that you have a really great relationship with your dad, but like, you know, not most of us are very lucky to have that. And I was like, I know, like, I'm more closer to my mom than my dad, of course. But at the time, I remembered just me going to my mom for everything. And then when it came to, you know, my dad wanting to know what was up, you know, I told him everything. But it was not like he was my go-to person, you know, at the time. And so, so he felt like that was like very sweet. Like, he thought that was really nice, and, you know, he wanted that for his dad. But he never really talked about it much with, like, you know, with me about his dad. But I knew about his mom, and his mom was kind of like his whole world, and she supported him in everything, including, you know, him coming out of the closet and stuff like that. I don't know if she wanted, you know, a straight child, which is kind of sad to say, but I just felt like maybe was she obligated, you know, to support his child? I don't know, but all I know is that she was one of the few parents that I know, especially when kids were coming out of the closet during in high school, where they've, you know, supported their child. And I was like, I am so proud of these parents, you know. And and I never thought that, you know, I would meet his mom, but I have met her at some point. I think, like, when he was trying to look for her during graduation day, you know, like, she kind of stood out, you know, from the crowd a little bit, because you saw these group of students, and then all of a sudden there was an adult somewhere in there, and, you know, she was calling out his name. And so he was like, yeah, that's my cue to go, I gotta go. And then from there, you know, rest is history, because of Joe and everybody else. And so after that, you know, who knows? Like, will I ever run into him again? I hope not. I honestly don't, because I felt like he and I was just a part of our each other's chapter in our story and in our experience, and that's how it's gonna be. But if at some point I do meet him in person, I just hope, like, he is the same genuine person that I have met in high school. Like, whereas I have changed myself, where, you know, I will not be sheltered anymore. Maybe I'll be a little bit more expressive, because, you know, the only thing I worried about was just like my image in high school for some reason. And then after high school, I was just like, oh, it didn't really fucking matter. I'm just gonna be by myself. And so since then, I was myself. And that's what my friends got. They got myself. And, you know, they grew to love me. So anyway, I'm gonna end the experience there. Hopefully, well, tomorrow for sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be hanging out with like my mother-in-law, because every single Thursday we do hang out and do a little bit of shopping. And like I said before in a previous video, where I want to start doing different types of videos on this channel. And so one of which was going to be like unboxings, crafting videos, and the one video that I have in mind, which hopefully will be a short video, will be my shopping finds. And so that way I can tell you guys like, hey, I found these on the store and I bought it with my own money, and they're going to be future craft projects. And so I thought, you know what, maybe I should do that. So hopefully next week's video would be that, or if not, it would be, you know, another video or another episode of playlist stories. But anyway, I'm gonna end the video there. Hopefully you guys have a lovely day and a lovely week, and I'll see you guys in next week's video. All right, bye everyone.